I grew up believing that my mother was the biggest traitor in the history of our city. I didn't just believe it, I lived it. I felt it every time I walked out my front door. I felt it in the spit that landed on her shoes when we walked to the grocery store. I felt it in the red spray paint that appeared on our garage door every single month, spelling out one word, rat. To the outside world, to the neighbors, to the kids at school, my mother was a pariah. She was the woman who broke the code. She was the woman who went to the police and sold out the local hero, a man named Darius King, who ran the neighborhood. She put him in prison for life. And in a neighborhood like ours, where loyalty was the only currency that mattered, that was a death sentence. We didn't die physically, but we died socially. We were ghosts. No one spoke to us. No one invited us to block parties. No one looked us in the eye. I spent my entire childhood walking 10 feet behind her, pretending I didn't know her. I spent my teenage years getting beaten up in the locker room because I was the rat's son. I hated her. I hated her for opening her mouth. I hated her for trying to be a good citizen in a place that didn't care about the law. I hated her for ruining my life before it even started. I would scream at her in our graffiti-covered kitchen. "Why did you do it?" I would yell. "Why did you talk? Why couldn't you just keep your mouth shut like everyone else?" Darius King was helping people. He paid for people's rent. And you sent him to jail. You are a traitor. She would never argue back. She would just stand there washing dishes, her back to me, her shoulders hunched. She would say quietly, deeply, "Someday you will understand, Marcus. I did what I had to do." I didn't want to understand. I wanted to leave. I moved out the day I turned 18. I changed my last name. I moved to a different state. I never told anyone where I was from. I erased her. I erased the neighborhood. Last week, my mother died of a heart attack. She died alone in that house with the red paint on the garage. The neighbors didn't call the ambulance. They probably watched the lights go out and cheered. I went back to bury her. It was a quick affair. No one came, just me and the priest. I went back to the house to pack up. I wanted to burn it down. I wanted to sell it to a developer who would bulldoze it and erase the stain of our existence. I went into the attic. I was looking for the deed. Instead, I found a box. It was a heavy steel lockbox tucked away under the insulation in the far corner. And I broke the lock. Inside, there was a file, a police file, and an old microcassette recorder, the kind they used in the 90s. I opened the file. It was the transcript of the testimony that put Darius King away. I expected to see my mother's name. I expected to see her signature. But the witness name was redacted, blacked out. I frowned. Everyone knew it was her. Why was it redacted? I picked up the tape recorder. There was a tape inside labeled Evidence, Witness Statement 402. I pressed play. And as the tape hissed and crackled to life, the blood froze in my veins. If you have ever judged your parents for their choices, or if you have ever felt like an outcast because of your family, you need to listen to this story. Please hit that subscribe button right now. I am going to tell you the truth about the woman everyone called a rat and the secret she carried to her grave to save the life of the person who hated her most. To understand the weight of this tape, you have to understand the fear in our neighborhood. Darius King wasn't just a drug dealer. He was the mayor of the streets. He controlled everything. The corner stores, the playgrounds, the cops. If you needed money, you went to Darius. If you had a problem, you went to Darius. But he was also brutal. If you crossed him, you disappeared. When I was 6 years old, Darius King was arrested. The police raided his safe house. They found the guns, they found the money, they found the bodies. Someone had tipped them off. Someone had told them exactly where the safe house was and exactly what time Darius would be there. The word on the street spread like wildfire. It was Evelyn, my mother. People said they saw her talking to a detective. People said they saw a police car parked in front of her work. The judgment was swift. I remember coming home from school in the first grade. There was a brick on our living room floor. It had come through the window. Attached to it was a note. "Snitches get stitches, leave or die." My mother read the note. She didn't pack, she didn't run. She went to the hardware store, she bought plywood, she boarded up the window. She looked at me, her 6-year-old son, and said, "We are staying, Marcus. We are not running, we have a right to be here." I didn't understand her courage, I only felt the fear. I remember the isolation. I wasn't allowed to play outside, I wasn't allowed to ride my bike. My world was the inside of that house. When we went out, she held my hand so tight it hurt. She walked with her head up, staring straight ahead, ignoring the insults hurled at her from the stoops. "On traitor, Urad, on Judas." She never flinched, she never cried in public. But at night I would hear her packing the hallway. I would hear her checking the locks 3, 4, 5 times. I would hear her weeping into her pillow. I grew up resenting her strength because I thought it was stubbornness. I thought she was keeping us in hell just to prove a point. "Why didn't we move?" I asked her 1,000 times. "We can't," she would say. "If we run, we look guilty. If we run, they win." I thought she was selfish. I thought she loved her pride more than she loved my safety. I didn't know that we couldn't run because we had no money. I didn't know that no one would hire the rat. I didn't know she was surviving on disability checks and sewing clothes in the basement just to keep us fed. I just knew that because of her I had no friends. Because of her I was a target. I blamed her for every bruise I got at school. I blamed her for every girl who rejected me. I moved away and I never looked back. I let her rot in that house surrounded by enemies. Now I sat in the attic holding the tape recorder. I pressed play. I expected to hear my mother's voice. I expected to hear her nervous, shaky voice telling the police where Darius King was hiding. But the voice on the tape wasn't a woman's voice. It was a child's voice. A high-pitched, innocent 6-year-old boy's voice. My voice. "Detective, okay buddy, you're doing great, just tell me again. Where did you see the bad man put the heavy bag?" "Child me, he put it in the wall, in the basement of the blue house, behind the loose bricks. I saw him when I was playing hide and seek. He told me if I told anyone he would hurt my mommy. But you're a policeman, you help mommies, right?" "Detective, that's right son, we help mommies. Did he put anything else there?" "Child me, the metal things, the guns. He wiped them with a cloth and put them in the wall. He said they were sleeping." "Detective, thank you Marcus. You are a very brave boy. You just helped us catch a very bad man." I stopped the tape. I stared at the dusty floorboards of the attic. The silence in the room was deafening. It wasn't her. It was me. I was the snitch. I had no memory of it. I must have repressed it. Or maybe I was just so young that I didn't understand the consequences of what I was saying. I must have been playing near the safe house. I must have seen something. And in my innocence, I told a police officer who was canvassing the neighborhood. I told on Darius King. I brought down the empire. I picked up the police file again. I read the notes from the detective. Interview with subject A. Marcus, age 6. Subject provided location of murder weapon and cash, credible witness. Note from district attorney, we cannot put a 6-year-old on the stand. It is too dangerous. The gang will kill him. We need a cover. Note from Evelyn mother, I will take it. I will say I saw it. I will say I tipped you off. Do not mention my son. Do not put his name in the papers. If they know it was him, they will kill him on the playground. If they think it is me, they will just hate me. I can handle the hate. He cannot handle the bullet. I threw the file across the room. I screamed, a guttural animal sound of pure agony. Oh, she took the heat. She stood in front of the firing squad of public opinion, and she took every single bullet for me. She knew that in our neighborhood they might bully a woman, they might vandalize her house, but they usually wouldn't kill a mother. But a boy, a rat boy, they would have killed me without a second thought, to send a message. She knew that if the truth came out, my life would be over, I would be hunted. I would be dead before I turned 7. So she volunteered to be the villain. She volunteered to be the most hated woman in the city. She let them spit on her, she let them paint her house red, she let her own son hate her. She listened to me scream at her for 18 years. She listened to me call her a traitor. She listened to me blame her for my misery. And she never said a word. She never said, "It was you, Marcus, I am saving you." Because if she told me, I might have told someone else, or I might have carried the guilt, or I might have been scared. She wanted me to be angry, not terrified. She wanted me to hate her, not myself. She absorbed the toxicity of an entire community to keep her son pure. I thought about the brick through the window. She didn't board it up because she was stubborn. She boarded it up because she was building a fortress around the witness. I thought about why we never moved. We couldn't move. If we moved, we would lose the protection of being known. If we moved, the gang might think we were running to testify again. Staying put was the only way to show them she was done. It was a power move. It was a bluff. She played a game of chess with murderers for 20 years, using her own reputation as a pawn just to keep the king mice safe. I walked downstairs. The house felt different now. It wasn't a prison, it was a bunker. I walked outside. I looked at the garage door. The faint outline of the word rat was still there, scrubbing away but never fully gone. I touched the paint. This wasn't a mark of shame, it was a mark of honor. It was a badge of courage that no soldier on a battlefield could ever match. She walked through enemy lines every single day to buy me milk. She walked through a minefield of hatred to get me to school. And she did it with her head held high. I drove to the police station. I asked to speak to the old detective on the case. He was retired, but I got his number. I called him. I said I found the tape. He was silent for a long time. Then he said, "Your mother was the bravest woman I ever met, son." I begged her to go into witness protection. She refused. She said she didn't want you to lose your name. She didn't want you to live a lie. She chose to live the lie so you could have your name. I hung up. I went to the cemetery. Her grave was fresh. There were no flowers. There were tire tracks across the grass where someone had driven over it out of spite. I fell to my knees in the mud. I tried to clean the tire tracks with my hands. "Mom," I whispered, "I remember. I remembered the hiding. I remembered the policeman with the candy. I remembered the fear. I remembered her standing in front of me when the neighbors came screaming. 'Leave him alone,' she had yelled. 'Talk to me, look at me.' And she drew their fire. I am sharing this story because we judge our parents so easily. We judge them for their reputation. We judge them for their social standing. We judge them for what other people say about them. We think we know the story, but we don't know the deals they made in the dark. We don't know the bullets they caught with their bare hands. If your mother is an outcast, if your mother is misunderstood, if your mother takes the blame for things she didn't do, don't join the mob. Stand by her, because she might be standing in front of you, shielding you from a truth that would destroy you. My mother died a pariah, but she died a savior. I am going to sell the house, but before I do, I am going to paint the garage. I am going to paint over the word rat, and I am going to paint the word hero. And then I am going to leave this town. But I will carry her name, not the name I changed it to, her name. I am Marcus King, son of Evelyn. And I am alive because she let herself be killed by inches. If this story shook you to your core, please share it. Share it for the scapegoats. Share it for the mothers who stand in the gap. And in the comments, tell me, have you ever blamed your parents for something only to find out they were protecting you? Let's clear their names. Hit subscribe. We tell the truth here, even when the truth was hidden for 20 years. Rest in peace, Mom. The case is closed. You are cleared.